What up, Pittsburgh Steel fans? Matty P with Shannon White. Shannon, it has been a busy free agency period. It's about to go the 15th probably, or it's just gone the 15th when this video goes live to air. There are a number of free agents that the Steelers have signed. You know, they've brought in, but the way the release happened with Russell Wilson, got Miles Killebrew back, got Deshaun Elliott, got Cameron Johnson, the punter, spending a bit of money there too, but he's a good punter. They brought in Patrick Queen as well, highest paid free agent for the Steelers signing. What do you reckon? What do you reckon in terms of the free agents still available? Because as we want to record this, according to NFL.com, 36 of the top 101 free agents are still available. So I'm keen to know, who are the names, who are the positions that you would be keen for the Steelers to bring in either before that the official period starts, like during this tampering period now, or after the official period technically begins with the new league year starting on the 15th of March?
Well, I think that we've said that they needed at least 2 wide receivers, at least 2 inside linebackers. So you're going to want to probably at least get 1 experienced guy in free agency and 1 in the draft. You don't want to have all rookies at either position. So inside linebacker, they took care of with Patrick Queen, because, you know, you're hoping that Holcomb will be able to come back at some point. He's going to miss some time. But, you know, I don't know who's out there at inside linebacker that would be cheap enough that, you know, they brought in 3 last year, but they waited to sign Alexander after the draft.
Well, I mean, Devin White, we did talk about briefly on our last show, but he is just for perspective, I think he should be a lot higher than this, but he's the 57th best player and is still available.
Well, I mean, when I seen that Willie Gay got 1 year, $5 million, you know, White might be somebody they could, you know, bring in and, you know, on a cheap deal, and give him a 1 year deal and give him, you know, I know they don't like to do 1 year deals.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, kind of approve it. But wide receiver,
I'd be worried. I'd give him a 2 just because I'd be worried that he'd prove it.
Yeah, I need to be gone. Yeah, but
or that you'd have to overpay him, like what happened with Ogunjobi. Remember, I remember I was on that with Ogunjobi. I'm like, sign to a 2-year deal, sign to a 2-year deal, because you don't want to sign to a 3-year deal. And what do? They sign to a 1-year deal. He played decently enough, so then they signed to a 2-year deal, and he didn't play well in the first year of the 2nd-year deal. And now he's old, and now he's expensive, and now they've got a problem there. So.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, if you look at the Steelers situation, they've had trouble now for a few years at a couple positions. Inside linebacker, because Ryan Shazier's career-ending injury. Yep. You can't plan for that.
No.
Okay? Stephon Tuitt on the defensive line just walks away. He just quits. You know, when's the last time that's happened to the Steelers? Jason Worlds? When he just decided he was, you know, I mean, there's some things that happen that are out of your control and you can't predict it. And so when they lost Stephon Tuitt, they thought they was going to have Tuitt for a while.
Yeah.
And then they end up with a glaring hole.
I want to raise something there with you. I don't want to lose it. And they did. And Tuitt, I hated that because he was like one of my favorite Steelers players at the time. I'm hearing a lot about the Shazier thing this season. And maybe it's because I'm hearing a lot about it in terms of Patrick Queen the last week or so.
Yeah.
And it is horrific what happened to him. And like, I'm not trivializing that. Like, I don't really want anyone to wear 50 and all the rest of it. But I'm kind of overhearing fans and Steelers media. I'm not over the people talking about it. I think it's very important. But I'm over the excuse of that, like, oh, well, Shazier got injured. It's 2024. Like, it's 7. I know it's not like what, obviously, you're anything like it. But I feel like we talk a lot about this. Oh, they've struggled to, or that, you know, we've still got to fix this problem. And I'm like, it's 7 years on. You're an NFL team that's known for your defense with a defensive coach. You can't fix inside linebacker. Now, I know they did try and do it. I know they traded up for Devin Bush, and we've had a laugh about him finding out that he's signing with Cleveland, and we think that's hilarious. Particularly Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are, probably partying in the streets about that. We're looking forward to 2 games against the Cleveland Browns. They're probably going to fight on the sideline for who can take the most amount of snaps because I want to run him over. But I think this is a black mark that the Steelers have to get off their player acquisition, report, really, because I think if you can't figure this out and I think last year, and I'm not trying to, like, the organization did everything it could last year in a difficult cap situation to bring in 3 guys and then 2 of your key guys get injured. That's not ideal. But all I'm saying is, I don't care if they overinvest at the position because of how important it is to a proper defense and a functioning defense and how important it is in a 3-4. And also, I want to move past this. We're still struggling with Shazier thing because there's too many smart people in that room to not be able to fix like one of the most important positions of a 3-4 defense.
Well, I want to say one thing about that. We have to realize that within the last decade, beyond, I'm just going to real quickly mention a few things that has caused where we are now.
Yep.
Kevin Colbert just lost it as a draft guy. As an evaluator. Shazier's injury. Now, we must remember, Shazier now, everybody talks about he was going to be one of the all-time greats.
Totally.
He was not. He was good. He was not great.
Yep.
People, a guy gets hurt, they die, and everybody forgets what they really were. But that hurt them, and then they reached for Bush, different things. In the middle of all this, Bell gets greedy. AB loses his mind. Ben hurts his elbow.
Yep.
COVID, pandemic, salary cap reduction.
Yep.
Stephon Tuitt just walks away. There's
DeCastro, Villanueva.
There's so many things that happen that for a lot of teams that would be, hey man, this was a big thing. It happened in our organization, but all that happened in this decade, just condensed time. And then you're talking about team chemistry, staying a contender, trying to have a winning record and be competitive. The Steelers have actually done a good job to do that and maintain
Never had
that,
a losing season,
considering what all has happened. Because, Ben is an all-time great. He's a Hall of Famer, but that elbow just went. Just like, and that just it right after you lose AB and Bell, right in that same time. So I think that it's going to take a little bit of aggressiveness outside the box thinking, but I think Khan is doing that. He did it last year, and I think he's doing it already this offseason. And I think that, so I think they're close. I really do. I think they're making that, they're getting in the right direction. But this year, let Pickett and Wilson compete. Don't worry so much about that this year. That's what everybody's focused on. Replenish the roster and then worry about it. And I think they're going to be in a lot better shape than people realize.
Yeah, no, I like that. And that's a good perspective. That's why it is the global perspective on this show, because we're always giving you a different perspective. But no, I like that. There's a lot of drama, a lot of challenges we've dealt with, the Steelers have dealt with, and to walk away with no losing seasons, to walk away in playoff contention most years, it's huge.
It's crazy.
I heard a stat recently that made me more of a Mike Tomlin fan, which was there only been one time in Mike Tomlin's tenure that the Steelers weren't still in the mix for the playoffs with like a week to go.
One time. Yep.
That is crazy. So we want to talk a little about other free agents. We talked about a couple to start out the show. Obviously, the Steelers made moves at safety. They still could make another move at safety. A guy I've talked a lot about this offseason that's still available is Connor Williams, unless he's signed while we're doing the show or since, between putting the show out. At center there to lock him up. Christian Fulton's a guy at corner that you could get very cheap that had a very high draft round on him, played well up until last year at Tennessee. But obviously last year, Tennessee weren't a good team anyway. It's funny for all the claims that Tannehill was coming to the Steelers. Tannehill's still out there. Not that I think you'd need to bring him to the mix. There's a bunch of wide receivers available. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is still available as we speak today.
Yes.
Tyler Boyd's there. I'm just categorically saying, I've said to a lot of people, I do not want Tyler Boyd in Pittsburgh. He has said too many things about us that's disparaging, about Steelers are disparaging. I don't want him. And I know things are said in the heat. I know like it was like the whole thing with Ogunjobi when he came in after being with the Browns and the Mason Rudolph incident. But Boyd said too much too often and done too much too often for me. I'm not there.
But Matty,
and I also just think there's better players.
You're sounding like me about Patrick Queen. I mean, it's the truth.
I think Boyd said more about Queen than what Queen has, though.
I don't know. I'm just saying that's another guy that I'm not real keen about them bringing in. But he's a hometown guy, and everybody's wants him to come home to Pittsburgh. But you got Curtis Samuel, you got who'd you say there? KJ Osborne.
Well, you've KJ Osborne's still out there. You got J.K.
Josh
Dobbins.
Reynolds.
Yep.
You've got some wide receivers.
You got Mike Williams out there if they can find $10 million.
There's another guy gets hurt when he gets breathed on. I mean that dude stays hurt.
Yeah, no, I don't actually like his play. I don't think he.
You give him a big paycheck and he hurts his back lifting it. No. We don't want Mike Williams.
But I'll tell you who is available that I do think they should take a punt on. Because he's old. He's going to be turning 30. Had knee problems. But if he could be a third. Who?
Don't you say Juju.
No, I mean, I don't mind him. But I was actually going to say Tre'Davious White. If the Steelers went out and gave Tre'Davious White like 6-7 mil to be their third cornerback, and you can draft a guy in the mid rounds, then you have Trice coming back. I very much like that cornerback room. If you can get Tre'Davious White where you're scheming him in the right plays, you're not overusing him, you're managing him, he could be a true value pickup. Like that is a guy that I think he just can't have the responsibility of being the top cornerback. And if you can avoid giving him the responsibility of being the second cornerback, then you're building a championship defense.
Oh, and if you have Trice and Rush, I still am excited
about seeing what
Rush can do. And then get you a guy in the draft, maybe like a Max Melton. Hey.
Yeah, I like Max Melton.
That whole secondary is revamped.
You know who else is still available? And he's probably not going to be available by the time this show goes to air. But the Mike Tomlin favorite is available, right?
I knew he was going to say Chase Young. I knew it was Kevin. Hey, if Chase Young
I'm just going up the top. I'm just looking at the top 36 players who's still available.
If he was 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah, well, that's it. You need him to play defensive end. I don't want Marquise Brown, but I've heard a lot of talk about Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. I don't want him. I don't want him, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of talk about it.
I mean, we talked about the guys in the draft, which we're not covering at this show, but all these size speed combo guys. Marquise Brown is tiny. I mean, I don't see the fit. And he's about as physical as Deontay Johnson. They're about, and I can't stand that. I don't want one of these guys that fall down before the ball gets there.
Not that Arthur Smith used him, but Drake London, obviously he's a big target for Kirk Cousins. But they signed Darnell Mooney, right? They signed Darnell Mooney to a contract.
Well,
they also have a high pick in the draft.
We was talking on the Pump Your Brakes. If you look at AJ Brown, look at Leggett.
Yeah, I mean, I like Leggett. I'm just saying that from a players that you could go and get right now outside the draft. I mean, I love Leggett. I'm keen on Leggett.
But I'm just saying they're so similar, even speed wise. Yeah.
But what I mean is that like the Atlanta have a very high pick. They got a top running back. They've got their quarterback. They've gone and spent money at wide receiver. They could use some help on the O-line to strengthen that.
They got Pitt.
They need help at pass rusher, right? Yeah. I'm just saying we talked about trading a 2 for Fields and whatever. You dangle a 3 next year or a two next year out there, and probably 3 because Drake London's almost he'll be hitting his 5th year option as well. You dangle that carrot, I reckon Atlanta take that.
It's possible, yeah.
And I think to have Drake London, I've always thought he underperformed there. And I know it's odd for me to say, yeah, go get Drake London when Arthur Smith didn't use him in Atlanta. But you think Drake London, Pat Freiermuth with George Pickens with this run game, man, I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, that's a.
But are there any other must free agents?
Establish what they're really wanting to do this year, and get this Arthur Smith's offense rolling, get the play action rolling. Then they'll even have a better idea of what they need to do for next year, and with the guys they want to target.
Yeah, exactly. Any other last, to wrap it up? Any other free agent names that you want to see the Steelers bring in?
Well, they got to decide what they're going to do about Marcus Golden. I mean, I liked having that third, because we didn't know that Herbig was going to turn out to be, so explosive. But I liked having 4 edge guys. And, considering how important that the edge is for the Steelers defense. So, but nobody signed him yet. So, it's still possible. But I thought he was a good fit in Pittsburgh. I'd like to have him back.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. That minimum, I think it'd be funny to have Marcus Golden they should pay him $10,000 more than what they're paying Russ. So just so that Marcus Golden can make more than Russ Wilson. Actually, though, it's funny if you draft the 3rd round. If you draft anyone above the 4th, they're probably going to have a higher cap hit than Russ Wilson. So if they still draft a quarterback, which I still think they should go try and get Michael Pratt from Tulane, but they go draft that guy in the back end of the 3rd, early the 4th. I think he would be just under the vet minimum. He'll be just under that minimum.
What's the name of the new punter?
Cameron Johnston.
Yeah, Cameron Johnston's making more than Russell Wilson. I just find that funny.
Man, he's a good kicker. I do have to say this. I know we have.
I keep saying here that he has the worst hang time.
The guy can kick the freaking thing. Trust me.
But they say his hang time's bad though. His average is good, but his hang time's bad.
He'll work on that. The Pittsburgh wind will let it just sit and float and whatever.
Oh, okay.
I don't know though. I hear a lot of people talk about hang time, and I get why it's important, particularly if you've only just fallen out short outside of field goal range. But if a punter can only kick it 40 yards versus a guy that can kick it over 50, I'd rather at 50 and it go out than worry about hang time, because there's always still a chance with hang time that someone's going to catch the ball. There's a chance that your gunners, I know the Steelers have done very well from a gunner perspective the last few years. I'm not criticizing that. There's also a chance your gunner trips or gets blocked or pulls a hammy, or you know what I mean? There's more risk, right? And because football is such a margins game, I'd rather someone put it in a corner within the 10-yard line, 9 times out of 10, than worry about what their hang time is. I think there are people that over accentuate. Like, I feel like some average punters are sort of hide behind hang time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, his numbers have been great for net average and for inside the 20 and fewest touchbacks, and so I'm real happy to have him. I mean, the Steelers, I just hope he can overcome the curse of Danny Smith, and because any punter, he can be halfway decent, get to Pittsburgh, and then he sucks. So I'm hoping that Johnson can overcome that.
Nah, he'll be good. Everyone will like him. He'll be good. But with that, that's going to wrap up our Steelers Global Perspective content for this week. I'm Matty P with Shannon White. As always, go Steelers.